Welcome back to the Super T Sigma channel where reaching is teaching. Thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate you. I want to talk about the RoadRunner and the Planetary emissions test. The RoadRunner and the Planetary emissions test. You're familiar with the RoadRunner, the cartoon by Warner Brothers. And what's the purpose of Warner Brothers? To Warner Brother. That's just the point. Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers that this or that is coming. Warner Brothers that this is the plan. Warner Brothers of what's happening. Warn everyone. Warner Brothers. They present a cartoon called RoadRunner. You know about it? RoadRunner running through the desert. They're probably around the Grand Canyon area. It looks very canyon-like where they are, and we just talked about the Grand Canyon in a past video, a recent video. Then you have the Wile E. Coyote. So there's only two characters, but there is a planetary emissions test going on inside of this cartoon. And I'm going to break down why and how. But let's take care of the what's. The RoadRunner, particular bird, sounds like it's saying beep, beep. Or our brains are trained to think that this thing is saying beep, beep, just because of the term RoadRunner. And just because it's running fast, we say beep, beep. But when you really focus on the cartoon and really remember, the Wile E. Coyote wasn't always in this bird's way. Maybe RoadRunner was saying me, me. Because it sounds more like me, me than beep, beep. And this is part of the planetary emissions test of time. On this road that you're running, as you're running on this road, who is it about? It's not about the people who did you wrong. It's not about the people who did you right. It's about meet, meet, right? Ain't that what he sound like? Meet, meet. The RoadRunner. You know what they use runners for, right? For grand entrances. Whether it be the bride, whether it be a king. This points to royalty. Just the idea of what is called a runner. And what is the road? The road is simply the life we live. I bet you didn't know that your path was covered with roses by default. I bet you didn't know that your streets were paved with gold by default. But yeah, there's a runner on the road. It's not just a road, and it's not just a RoadRunner bird, but there's a real metaphysical royal runner that is running across your path, across your road. What does this really mean? That your steps are special. Every step you take, every move you make is special, is decked out, is royal. All the treasures are there. All the gems are there. But you have to have eyes to see. Having eyes is not enough. So we're under a RoadRunner planetary emissions test. We're under a RoadRunner planetary emissions test. And the coyote is very wily. Wily is another way for saying very divisive, very cunning, very inventive. You see all these different inventions the Wile E. Coyote be using? I mean, inventions that are like, it just boggles the mind, all of these different contraptions he comes up with. And he takes his time. He's methodical. He's using Acme products. The Wile E. Coyote ain't no joke. He got technology. He's got all kinds of gadgets. He's pulling everything out of Area 51 on this bird. Running around the Grand Canyon, probably getting stuff from underneath, secret weapons from underneath and cities underneath. He's probably just getting everything. He's pulling everything out the hat. Some of the traps do involve Wile E. Coyote being where? Underground. So we got the dog again, a coyote. There's a form of Anubis that is after us that's designed to keep us in this underworld matrix. Anubis is the god of the underworld. That's the dog. So in this road running, when you're on your royal path, just know that there's a dog-like spirit that's trying to keep you in the underworld, trying to keep you inside of your root chakra. They won't even let you move up to your sacral and your solar. They just want to keep you right at your tailbone. They want you to have a tail. You know why? Because they want you to chase your tail. Who is they? Archons, dark gods. Can't blame it on the people, because the people are not technically the powers that be. There are people sitting in seats on boards known as the powers that be, but the real powers that be are as though they are not. So really you should say the powers that are not, the powers that are invisible. But these guys were pretty wise. It's the powers that be, because they do exist, whether we can see them or not, whether we believe them or not, believe in them or not, have heard of them or not. These powers just are. And these powers are putting us under a RoadRunner planetary emissions test. The root word of emissions is to emit. This is to make sure that your vehicle is clean, that your Merkaba is not clouded, that your soul, your astral body, your etheric double is not polluted with doubt and fear and apprehension and closed-mindedness. All of these things will cause you to fail the emissions test when you go to get your vehicle checked out on this road with a runner on it. The root word of emissions is emit. And when you dissect emit and spell it backwards, it's spelled time. Emit is spelled E-M-I-T. But you spell it backwards, you get T-I-M-E. You get time. You see that? So to emit, to express yourself, is a redeeming and a bending of time. Time is standing still. Although the seconds may continue to tick, but true time itself is really moment to moment, not second by second or moment to moment. Momentum is what gives us a sense of time. It's not the seconds. Nobody's counting all day. Even those who do count for long periods of the day, they're not counting all 23 hours and some change that we have a day. Unless they are experiencing a true level of high level adeptness, or they have some kind of split brain phenomenon thing going on. But I'm under the impression that everybody is just handling their business, doing what they have to do, running on their road that has a runner on it, trying to find out who Wile E. Coyote is. And why is it dog eat dog? Because the dog is the god of the underworld. This is Anubis. And I'm not trying to paint Anubis in a negative way, because he, she, or it is not negative. This is just being used in a negative way to keep people trapped and keep people from expanding on their life and living a full life. The life that they want to live, to really have a fair shot at this thing. And it's not fair if you don't know the inner mechanics of what's going on. Because believe you me, these higher powers and these higher seats, they believe in all of this stuff. Billionaires, they don't really believe in speculation. That's what makes them a billionaire, especially if, and I'm saying if very strongly, if they're self-made. Inquisition is their nature, so they're not going to ever be skeptical of information that's presented to them, because that's not how wealthy people function. If you're functioning like a wealthy person, you're keeping your spiritual body clean. Even Jesus said it doesn't matter what you put in your mouth. Nothing you put into your body can really defile you. Only the things that come out of you, out of your heart. These things are what defile a man. Isn't that what the scriptures say? So don't get too caught up in these people that are telling you what to eat, what to drink, what I mean? All of that. What did Paul say? These are just temporary rules that are don't touch, don't taste, don't handle. These rules are only concerning items that perish, but we are concerned with the what? The imperishable. Because we're going through a RoadRunner planetary emissions test. And day by day, moment by moment, our etheric gases are being investigated, examined. Etheric gases, your mental energies, like when you're thinking and you're feeling, these things produce fragrances, actually, that can be detected by whoever detects it, mostly animals. And of course we do, but it's very subconscious. We just attribute it to our feelings, like when a person is physically attracted to another. They're smelling things that have nothing to do with the perfume or the cologne. They're smelling something that's very natural, organic. It's more like a human being on human being thing, and the connection is there. Also known as pheromones, particularly natural pheromones. Mastering these elements and putting these pieces together is gonna cause the dog to be exactly what the dog needs to be. Not a ruler of man, not a governor of man, but man's best friend, man's pet, the one that goes and gets the paper for him if it's trained well enough, the one that he can take on a walk. He keeps him on a leash, but he takes him outside. He takes him on a walk. He presents him. He makes sure that the dog sees the vet. Make sure that the dog has his or her food, his or her drink, his or her doggy bed. And if you live in pretty, the dog probably got shoes and sweaters and hats. The dog probably dresses as well as you do on top of his fur. This is what's supposed to be going on with Anubis in his underworld. The dog is supposed to be like your best friend. Let the dogs bark at each other, but the dog knows who its master is. You got to master the dog, or the dog will master you and turn you into the dog, which is God backwards. You are a god, whether you like it or not, whether you're ready for it or not, whether you think it's blasphemous or not. You are a god. But if you don't think you are, then you're just a dog, though. So it goes backwards. You can go back to chasing your tail again if you want. You have free will, but you're not going to pass the emissions test. And tags will be put on your Merkaba, and tags will be put on your vehicle. All of a sudden, you probably won't be interested in learning. Probably won't have the same kind of drive. Probably get more agitated, more aggravated. These things can be side effects. You can probably get sickly, end up with migraines and stuff. All of these things happen when you fail to pass the emissions test. There's an emissions test that happens. Time itself, the gods, the all, people, angels, demons, they're all watching to see what you emit in this thing we call time, which is emissions backwards. To emit backwards. They're trying to undo the emission for an excuse to have time. For an excuse to say, on February such and such, at this date and time, this person did such and such. Nobody just names a date without a subject to attach the date. The day is always significant if it's being mentioned. Whether it's on this day, it was 63 degrees for the high and 30 degrees for the low, or somebody rescues cat under a tree. No date or time is mentioned without a subject that fits within it, which is why emit, when it's dissected, you get time. If you're not doing anything, what do you have? A lot of what? Time on your hands. If it's not being filled, if you're not busy, you have a lot of time on your hands. If you're not emitting, if you're not putting forth, if you're not projecting, if you're not producing seed. This is the RoadRunner planetary emissions test that you have to pass. And run fast. Be quick about your decisions. Don't be rash in your judgments. But once you're sure of a thing, and once you know, and once you're really ready to give it a try, give it a try. Don't procrastinate. Don't hesitate. Run on that road that has a runner on it. Run on that road that has a runner on it, because you're royal. You're not a peasant running on this road. No, you have a runner on your road. You're not a slave. You're not a disgrace. You're not a disappointment. Nope. You're none of those things. Even if you've caused those things, that's not what you are. That is what you've done. Who you are is greater than what you do and greater than what you've done. But if you want to understand time and master time, you have to be able to undo what you emit. And how do you do that? Premeditation. Premeditation. Think like a chess player. Think about your moves before you make them. You don't have to think 30, 40 moves ahead. You don't have to do that. But if you want to, you can refer to the video about dimensions 6 through 11 made easy. And that will tackle some of the mechanics on that. But the main thing you have to be concerned with in this, what we call matrix simulation, for lack of better words, this world, some people call it a prison planet. For the sense of this RoadRunner example, we'll call it an underworld. And Wile E. Coyote is the dog. The one with all the inventions, all the technology, the system, the gadgets, the skyscrapers, the cars, all of the technology in society can be used by Wile E. Coyote. It doesn't represent Wile E. Coyote because the Roadrunner understands the technology too. This is why the Roadrunner sometimes uses the traps to backfire against Wile E. Coyote. But is the Roadrunner concerned with inventions? No. The Roadrunner is simply there to run on the road that has a runner on it. The Wile E. Coyote is the one that's not moving forward. He's stopping to set up traps. You get these kind of people in life who they don't want to go no further ahead in life. They just want to stop other people from going ahead. They might not necessarily be as wily, but they are doggish. And the dog is one of the premier spirits in this underworld. It's not the ruler of the underworld when I separate this from Egyptian cosmology, because I'm not including all of the specifics of Egyptian cosmology because I want to make this actionable. So I want to say that this dog in this version of the underworld is not to be a god. Egyptian cosmology does paint Anubis as the god of the underworld. But in the sake of this underworld that you live in day to day, it's not. It doesn't have to be. What do you have to be, though, in order to be over Anubis? You got to be a master. That's what dogs have, right? It's the dog and then his master. So what do you have to be? A master. So become a master and premeditate your actions, your thoughts, your deeds. Premeditate your emissions to make sure that you pass this RoadRunner planetary emissions test. Thank you again for your time and attention. It's Super T Sigma of Sigma Programming, here where reaching is teaching. You guys keep vibrating high. Peace.